Hello everybody, back again. It's been a while and a few people have asked me when is your next clip. Well, here it is. This might extend to 2 clips. We'll see how I get on. One of the reasons that I've been a bit quiet lately is last June, just after I got back from a trip to France, I had an operation on my shoulder, a supraspinatus tear in the tendon, doing work along the riverbank and lakeside. Pulled all the tendons, had an operation, and it's taken me a year of rehabilitation and physio to get back so I can use the throwing stick and even play a fish. I'll just say a quick thing about this. It's an odd way to start a fishing video, but the physio and the consultant said to me, make sure you use these every single day, and they sent me a video of all the clips to use, and you have to use all these. Anyone that's had an operation on their knee or their hip or their arm or leg or shoulder will know that how important these are. So guys, anyone that's had an op, use these and do what the physio says. Makes a massive difference. As you can see in a clip that we'll possibly play whilst I'm talking over this, I've been out down the lake, had a good week this week, had a few cracking fish up to 47, which is a monster, and a couple of nice commons. So been enjoying myself, been using up the bait that I've been making in here in this workshop, stocked up my freezer ready for my autumn campaign. And I suppose really that's what I want to talk about in this clip. You know, autumn is coming, winter around the corner, but this is without doubt the best time of year to get out on the lakes and rivers. The barbel anglers know that, so when the rivers start dropping, this is around about the 4th, 5th of October, it's getting fishable now, so everyone's out and about, and certainly carp fishing has been very good. It's, you know, great conditions, so if you're out and about doing it, good luck. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, I've got quite a few bits and pieces here to discuss. We're going to be speaking about hook baits, freezing, paste, and all sorts of other things like that, really to match an awful lot of the emails and calls that I've had from everybody over the last year asking me how to do this, how to do that. But you've got the hang of it, guys, from pretty much all the video clips I've done before. But it never hurts, does it, to just go over a few things, refresh everybody's memory, including mine. And I've made a few notes to make sure that I don't forget what I'm talking about. So 2 or 3 weeks ago I was 70, still full of energy, 70 years and 10, and I'm still out and about doing it, loving every minute, passing on some of my hold one knowledge to you guys. It's still great fun. I want to quickly talk about super milk, just whilst it springs into my mind. I'm not doing it through the shops at the moment. It's just available on my website, exactly the same as it was before. So all you super milk fanatics, which I know there's quite a few, the same original great protein, milk protein recipe is out there, and it's on my website. So you're welcome to order it direct from me. I'm sorry about the inconvenience of not doing it through the shops. You know, when I think about the long time I've been making bait, I know that I'm used to it, and there'll be plenty of you guys out there that haven't made bait before, or you consider it a bit of a, you know, a hassle, can't be bothered, and you use what you've got, or you put a couple of pots off the shelf, you know, in the shops, whatever it is. That's all fine, no problem at all. But you know, if you do make the effort to make your own bait, even if it's in a very limited way, you don't need loads of equipment to do it. You got your 2 hands. You've got, you know, a camping gas stove, a little saucepan that you can pick up, a cheap saucepan, and a little wire basket thing. You can boil some chop-ups. You don't need round boilies, particularly barbel anglers on the rivers. You don't need a round bait for the rivers. And I've brought some ingredients here just to sort of show you how quick and easy it can be. And we'll kick straight off into something quite interesting about freezing and storing. So this will make you laugh. I got 2 dogs, 2 Jack Russells, and we feed them a mixture of different food. This is one of them. This food, this dried food, comes in these fantastic multiple walled, heavy duty, self-sealable bags, and I keep them. You want to make up batches of particles? I tip all the liquid and the particles in these, seal the tops, mark them with a felt pen and freeze them. These are much better than putting them in plastic bags. Keep these, put your boilies in these, helps to stop freezer burn. Try that. Also, I keep all these random packets, almonds, and quite like nuts. As you can see, we've got plenty of these. These are great, these KP nut bags. Same sort of thing, self-seal. You've already bought them, so you don't need to go and buy them. And when you're making up your paste, you can just make little batches of paste, get a felt pen, mark what's in here, grab one of these out of the freezer, take it with you. Eco-friendly, you're not throwing them away, you're reusing them. Well, I guess you will eventually throw them away, but you get the message. So, I've been meaning to say that for a while. And whilst we're on the subject of recycling different things, you might want to try this. Any of these sauce bottles, mayonnaise, anything like that, rinse them out with boiling water, clean them out, keep the tops, you know, these little flip tops, and make up your own dips and glugs. I know you guys love dips and glugs. So you can put in here, you can put some liquid yeast, you can put shrimp extract, you can mix up your own bits and pieces that you want to do. If you like the sweeter style of things, you can make your own sort of glug, goo, dips, whatever you want. Do it yourself. Excuse me. So keep these, seal them up, clip the top, chuck them in your bag. DIY, squeezy bottles. Easy. As I mentioned earlier on, I don't think there's any question for those that are prepared to make the effort that making your own paste fresh and being in control of your own bait, particularly hook baits, is devastatingly effective. It's great for the confidence and certainly a big difference for the fish. Interestingly enough, if you make paste or boilies, they'll last in the fridge at least 7 or 8 days. Possibly even a bit longer if you keep them cool. And in cold weather outside, if you're on a very long session, even if you come back and you've been out on cold weather, come back, put them in the fridge and go back again for another session, whatever you're doing, you know, most boilies will last a long time with no preservatives. And you know what I'm like about preservatives. So why is this DIY thing that I've banged on about for years so good? I'll tell you. 8 things different than you will get if you use standard mass-produced bait. If you make your own bait with these little fresh beauties, you can control the colour, size, shape, smell, texture, content, so many different things. You know, I've put down here density as well on my list. You can fiddle about with ingredients and make your bait a bit denser. A quick tip for river anglers: if you're fishing big rivers like the Trent, the Wye, the Severn, those big raging rivers, deep water, and the Hampshire Avon to a certain extent, you want to make sure your bait gets down to the bottom and doesn't get wafted off in the current. Put 2 or 3% of limestone flour in your mix. Don't muck about with oyster shell or all that nonsense. Limestone flour, packed with calcium, absolutely no harm to the fish. They actually need it. It's fed to horses and you can buy it as cheap as chips in a horse feed supply shop. So limestone flour, put it in your bait. Useful also for long range baits for carp fishing. If you're fishing at ultra long range, you can put a little bit, 2 or 3% in your boilie mix. Dry off the baits when you've boiled them. They're much denser and you can get them out with a throwing stick miles, well over 100 yards. So try that. You obviously have to have the ingredients that will make a firm boilie, otherwise it'll explode out of the throwing stick, but you try that. So with this control of being able to have this 8 different things, obviously the key to those mixes is the base mix. And we're in the autumn, we're talking about autumn mixes, we're talking about moving through the winter as well. And people often call me and say, oh, what about an autumn mix? What about a winter mix? Well, you know, this might sound crazy, particularly, you know, for me, sort of promoting products and that sort of thing. But if you've got a very good, successful summertime recipe, there's nothing wrong with continue using that bait right through the winter. And if you do that, you'll catch fish because you're confident and you know it works. You're happy with what you're doing and you've got a freezer full of bait. The most important thing is, guys, don't throw in too much when you're actually fishing. Do what the match anglers do, a little and often, a little and often. Keep the fish hungry. That's what the match anglers say, keep them hungry. So when you've packed up after a session, by all means, I would advocate chucking in the bait when you go if it's not disturbing other people's fishing. You know, and it's not antisocial. Put a bit of bait in when you go. Same applies on rivers, barbel fishing. Don't put in too much bait during cold water conditions when you're actually fishing. Keep them hungry, draw them into the swim, use stringers, and when you've finished, throw in the bait you've got left. Or stick it in the fridge, but don't refreeze previously frozen bait, please. It's not a good idea. Use these that I said earlier on. Put your bait in little batches. Put it in, you know, short session packs in, you know, spare resealable bags, and, you know, get the whole thing sorted out into little session packs. If you've got a freezer full of boilies, that's fine, but they're probably all frozen in big bags, so have a think about reorganising it in that way. So I think what we'll do is, I just want to show everybody how quick this is to do, and it is super quick. So I'm going fishing, say this afternoon, which I am. Quick crack of the egg. I'll get told off for using these because these are Cotswold leg bar eggs, whatever they are. They're organic eggs, they're beautiful. Look at the colour of the yolk, gorgeous colour. So I've just cracked an egg in a bowl. That is it. I think what I'll do is flavour this with a nice little bit of TM1. Great winter flavour, great autumn flavour. And actually, if no one's tried this, if you blend either Frost and Flood, this is Barbel and Carp anglers, or TM1, one or the other, with chicken tikka or ala salar, what a phenomenal bait that is for barbel and carp. You've got the oil-based flavour of the chicken tikka or the ala salar, the fishy, salmony profile of that, or the savoury profile of the chicken with the 7 different spices, blended with the solvent-based complex vanilla, maple, fenugreek, cream of the TM1 or Frost and Flood. Quite a few people have come back to me and given me feedback on that recipe, which actually originally wasn't mine. It was another barbel angler gave me that idea, and subsequently a few carp anglers have picked up on it as well. So it's a 1 egg mix. How much flavour are we going to use? In paste. I'll tell you, you'd be surprised. In goes the syringe. I'm only going to put in there 1/5 of 1 ml. That's 0.2. In it goes. That's all I'm using. More than enough. By the way, these little 1 ml syringes, which I really do advocate that everybody uses, they're really only supposed to be used once for humans, and if you want to use them again, which clearly everyone will do, when you've used them, just use some lukewarm water, tiny little bit of like 1 drop of washing up liquid in a cup full of water, give them a good clean out, pull them apart, dry them out in the airing cupboard, reuse them. So they're not going to last forever, but that's a good idea. So we'll just mix that round 2 seconds. We're going to use milk and honey mix. Here it is. 4 different nut meals, milk proteins, seeds, honey soaked seeds. A very, very good all year round bait, but particularly good that will complement the summertime recipes, you know, Top X, TM1, cream of creams especially, and all those sweety cream flavours which we know Carp like, that sweet profile for winter and autumn. What I'm actually going to do with this is the unsieved normal mix straight out of the packet, and it's got quite a lot of texture to it. I've sieved some earlier on, and if the light catches it, you can probably see it's all the seeds and chunks of peanut and chunks of coconut and things that are in there. I'm giving away the ingredients now. So when I make paste, I take a standard sieve, which is around about 1.5 mil sieve. So not super fine flour sieve, just this coarse sieve, and sieve out the bits. Why do I do that? Mainly to give a better texture. So you won't need much for a 1 egg mix. Here it goes. Mix it round, and what I'll do is, you would have seen me use these blue gloves. These are called, they're dental gloves, Touch Flex nitrile examination gloves. They're really good, particularly useful if you're making smelly baits. They keep the worst off. I use them all the time. They are pretty cheap to use, and I just thought I'd demo that and show you the ones I use. You can buy them on the internet. So once you've got your hands straight in there, put the gloves on, mix it round. Now the beauty of this is that you can use this in multiple different ways. It's quite surprising that even 1 large egg will actually make quite a bit of paste. There's enough paste here, and excuse me for, you'll see I didn't weigh out the powder, but I've been doing this a long time, so I can pretty much judge exactly the right consistency, although that was a bit jammy. I mean, that's almost perfect, that paste. That smell is subtle, it's absolutely gorgeous. I'll tell you what it smells like, one of those Harvest Crunch bars with peanuts and almonds and all those nuts in, and honey. What a fantastic bait. They'll eat it straight away. You don't need to pre-bait with it. As with all good mixes, less is best. And there it is. You want to make it up, that paste, a bit softer than you would actually use it, because after an hour or two, by the time you get it to the river or lake, it's going to harden off. So how much to use, how much to take? Well, you could take that 1 egg mix with you and use it, that's fine. That's enough for like an afternoon 4 or 5 hour evening session, because if you're going to be using boilies, and you know, here's a few boilies that I've defrosted because I'm going fishing later, and then you're going to pick off a tiny little bit and mould it round a boilie. So that's a paste wrap. Deadly method. You don't need to over flavour it with dips and glugs. You're in control. The fish know it's there. Why? Because they've got a sense of taste thousands of times more than a human being. And we shouldn't forget that. They're hypersensitive to their surroundings, and they certainly know what's what when it comes to being repelled by over flavoured baits. I'll say that. So what I tend to do is, if I'm making a bigger batch of this, I'll break off quite small bits. So I'll go, say that size, and that's enough for 1 session for paste wraps for the evening. And when I go, I'll chuck the rest in. So from 1 egg, I'm going to be getting, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, from one egg, I'm going to be getting sufficient paste for 5 evening sessions. So I take what, 200, 300, 400, 500 grams, say half a kilo of boilies with me for a 4-hour session, or a day session. Maybe I'd still take 1 or 2 of these with me if I'm carp fishing, and a kilo of boilies. I'll use probably half a kilo of boilies during the day, maybe, depending on what type of fishery I'm on. And when I go, I'll take the rest home if I'm going later in the week, or put them out. So, dead easy. If you can, quick drink of water. If you can see this quite clearly, William's behind the camera. I don't know if you can see this clearly. Can you see this down here, Wills? Yeah, you can see it up here.
Yep. So,
if you're making chop ups and then boiling them, all you need is a good sharp knife. I said no equipment required. It's pretty obvious. Just roll out the paste. If you're boiling, you can put a little bit more flavour in, but really you don't need much. Roll all this out, chop them up, leave them to stand for half an hour, boil them, not for long, 40 seconds. There's an interesting thing about boiling, you know. So we'll go straight on to boiling. And the interesting thing about boiling, and this big, you know, hype that's going on about steaming or boiling, if your base mix and your main ingredients are good, with sufficient binders and good quality ingredients, it cuts down the boiling time. So it will gel and hold together after only 30 to 40 seconds. Whereas with steaming, it's fine. And if you've got the facilities to steam, it's fine. But steam and water get to the temperatures, which is about 110, at the same time. They're both the same temperature. So, but with steaming, depending on how they rotate in the machine or whether it's just stacked, the boilers at the bottom get heated up more than the ones at the top. So you have an inconsistency in the steaming facility unless you've got a major commercial machine which circulates the steam round properly. Even with that, most steaming takes much longer than boiling. Why? Because the ingredients are different. I'll leave you to think about that one. I still boil bait. I don't think it makes the slightest scrap of difference. It's quick, it's easy, and it's tried and tested. So, yeah, steaming, who cares? We spoke about super milk earlier on, and we spoke about milk and honey because I've just made some paste with it. A few barbel anglers and carp anglers like both of those mixes throughout the winter. Everyone likes a bit of a milk protein for the winter and a different from you know, fish meals or savoury baits. So I can tell you that what quite a few people have been doing is getting super milk and getting milk and honey, or whatever your favourite mixes are, and blending them together 50-50 or 60-40. So instead of pre-baiting or with, you know, quite expensive base mix, like super milk is obviously quite expensive, you can pre-bait with a 50-50 mix of a good quality seedy mix like milk and honey and super milk, and then you have the option of using super milk hook baits if you wish. That spreads out the cost, and you know, particularly on the rivers when you're perhaps baiting up and there's nuisance fish eating your freebies, that's a good idea. So I thought I'd chuck that one in as a little bit of, you know, a note. So when it comes to all the different flavours that that I sell, which is a bit confusing, and that's why I've got the PDF thing, you know, on the website. You can download the dose rates. It's very difficult to put them all on, but I would say, as a rule of thumb, if you're using more than one flavour as a blend, let's say for example you're using cream caramel and plum as a good winter flavour, or caramel banana and peach as a blend, you're only going to need 6 large eggs, 1 ml of peach or plum, and maybe 2 ml of an alternative creamy type flavour. It's important that you don't over flavour your bait. Keep it low, keep the freebies low, and if you want the option of extra strong bait for your hook bait, you can slightly elevate that, but make sure you get the dose rate right and don't try and glug it or add it after it's made, because that's fatal. It's too strong. It won't dissipate through the water properly. You need it to be in the mix. Different types of things for winter. I've been asked this about different types of flavour. Somebody actually asked about apple flavour. Why isn't there one? And I'll tell you why. It isn't much cop. I've got letters going back 40 years ago to flavour companies who sent me samples of apple. I tested them out. They don't work. Believe me, I've tried it. The ones that do work are particularly the ones that are complex, the fruit blends. I do a mandarin oil, which has got tangerine, orange, and mandarin oil in. It's a multiple citrus flavour. The fish love it, and you can cut that mandarin or bun spice, which is multiple spices, like we all know, cake spices. They mix brilliantly with the creamy flavours, so that can be your blend. Don't worry about using oil-based flavours. Why? Because the eggs will act as a partial emulsifier for those oily ingredients. One quick tip about oil, which I've just thought of. If you want to make sure your paste is kept a little bit soft in the winter and you're not using enough, so it doesn't matter about having an oil content, one of the best oils to use is soya oil. I use this one, organic soya oil. It's particularly digestible to cyprinoids, miles better in the winter than any sort of fish oil, and I only use fish oil at minimum content anyway, so a soya oil is good. Even a vegetable oil like Mazola cooking oil is absolutely fine. It's corn oil, fish love it, and it's digestible. So no point getting carried away with too much fish oil and too many additives, particularly in the winter. Just keep it consistent as you would do on the most difficult water you fish, be it a tough river with nomadic barbel, or be it a tough syndicate water with a low level of fish where you're trying to get the most. The most important thing is consistency and freshness and getting the flavour level right. So I was thinking earlier on when I started this that we were talking about what to do in the autumn, how much bait to use, and I was thinking about doing 2 clips. A couple of people have said the clips are full of information, and I've been talking quite quickly to cram this full of information, but there's just 2 more things that I will mention, and we'll compress this down into 1 clip and do another one soon. Why will we do another one soon? Because I've got some new flavours coming out. One's got a great name, Dolly Mixtures, a blend of 8 different flavours. I've been testing it with a few people over the last 2 years. Instead of buying loads of flavours, this all comes in 1 bottle, and people that have eaten Dolly Mixtures will know it's multiple levels of complexity. There's another one called Butterscotch, and after talking to a few people, I've brought out something similar to chicken tikka, but this time made with ala salam, and it's ala salam masala. It's incredible. So they'll be out soon. I'm having the labels printed now, and I will do a separate clip about those specific flavours because I've put a great deal of thought into them. Mentioned earlier about amounts of bait. We said match anglers say keep the fish hungry. So I think it's fatal not to throw bait in your club lake, your syndicate lake, over the winter period. The opposite is the case. Keep it trickling in if you can. Because the problem being is you don't know what other people are throwing in, and what a lot of other people do is they think, oh, it's winter, the fish aren't eating too much, so they stop throwing bait in, and what happens? The fish stop metabolising, their systems shut down, they effectively almost stop eating. And it's interesting to note that on day ticket lakes and busy sort of pay lakes, because they're fished all the time and bait's going in, they're pretty good winter waters, so you can catch fish all the year round. Why? Because there's bait going in all the time. So keep your fish moving, keep them moving around the lake, give them something to eat. I think I'll finish this up with two final things. And you'll laugh because I like to do this in a traditional way. And here is something that I prepared earlier. Can you read that? Please, guys, taste your bait. There's an awful lot of bait sold out there, and some of it's good, some of it's medium, and some of it's not very good. But the common denominator in all baits made at home or sold by anyone is the taste. The smell is invariably too strong. Why? Because people put too much flavour in, and some of those flavours contain quite nasty tasting solvents. So the bait has been made and the recipe contains counteracting sweeteners which you don't need if you put the right level of flavour in the first place. So it might sound weird to say taste a fish meal, taste a liver bait, or taste something, you know, pretty smelly and nasty, but you don't have to swallow it. And if it's any good, it won't kill you, but just chew it round, get a taste of it, spit it out and rinse your mouth out. It's not a problem. We've always tasted our bait. Going back to the early days when we first started making baits and using flavours, all the serious anglers I've ever met always taste our bait. And I'll show it up again. If your bait tastes hot, bitter, sour, nasty, what do you think that is going to do to the pickup of the carp? It's easy, they won't like it. And they're less likely to eat a bait which has those hot, bitter, sour, nasty, over-flavoured, tasted notes. I think that gets the message across. And I'll finish up with one more thing. My hobby horse, social media. I'm on social media now, but I haven't done a clip for 8 months. That's a long time for somebody that, okay, it has a bit of a profile. I suppose it's weird that at my age I'm doing these clips, but William, my son, is behind the camera and it was all his idea, so I blame him. Be careful, guys, with social media. There's a lot of talk about it now, particularly about taking phones away from kids at school so they can concentrate on what they're doing. And if you catch a good fish and you're fishing your favourite stretch of river and favourite lake or whatever it is you're fishing, think twice about putting it on social media, TikTok, Instagram, or whatever platform you're using. Think about the implications that that might have when you do that, because straight away people know what you're catching, they might know where you're fishing, and it mucks up the fishing for your mates, and it mucks up the fishing for the other members of the club. Furthermore, it will do your head in if you keep doing it. Social media and constantly doing self-gratification on mobile phones and talking about what you're doing is mostly being done by people that want some kind of deal from a sponsor or some kind of gratification for a reason that I know not what. Years ago we used to do things just for the fun of it, and carp fishing shouldn't be a job. Barbel fishing shouldn't be a job of work. It should be a hobby. I'm going to be writing about this and lots of other stuff in my book, which I'm still writing and won't be out towards the end of 2025. But there'll be an awful lot of things in that book about the reality of good bait, nutritional recognition, the reality of it, and the reality of why flavours work. I do get lots of emails. I always answer all of them. It's hard work, but I love it. See you next time.